Hi and welcome back. I appreciate you coming over for another visit. If this is your first time here, welcome to the living room. This is where I grow the bulk of my orchids. So in the last video, we talked about my big Cattleyas, and today we are going to talk about some of my smaller Cattleyas. Well, they're smaller now. Some of them are supposed to become fairly decent sized. And then I do have a Nodosa and a Sophronites in here, but I don't have a separate collection, so to speak, of those. Let me go grab real quick, if I can, my cucullata. Hold on, I will be right. Okay, so here is my cucullata. She is a beautiful, beautiful little thing. I know she doesn't look like much now. She only has like 5 leaves on her, but look at the roots that she's growing. And then she's got roots inside, down in the bottom as well. And I don't see any new growth on her. She does hang in front of the east-facing window. However, this year she will be going outside. Again, from what I've researched, they really, really benefit from being grown outdoors during the growing season. So we'll have to wait and see. I've had her since January of 2021, so I've had her a little over a year. And for the longest, in the previous setup I had her in, which was a lot of bark with some moss in a small pot, and she literally only had 3 growths. So since putting her in here, she has grown and developed 2 growths. One of which is not very good, but that's okay. She's growing. That's all that matters. Let me put her down. All right. And let's do Brassavola Little Stars, since we are talking about Brassavolas. So this is the section that's in the pot. I do have one on a mount. This one here I recently had to repot because she was really wobbly in the pot, so I took her out. Almost all the roots were dead. I think there were 5 that were not having to be cut off. So she's got about 5 roots holding her in. But the good news is she is starting new root growth right here, as well as a new root. I don't want to move her too much because, like I said, she's not very stable in here. But she does have a new root growing back in there as well. And with Brassavolas, it takes them forever for their roots to actually start absorbing anything. So good thing they do like that good wet-dry cycle. So I only water her every 3 days just to make sure I'm not rotting the roots that she does have down in the bottom. So let's talk about my which one is this? The Fritz Nicholas Spring Dance. I've had this one since 2019, February, I believe. It's either February or April. I just wrote 2019 on here, so I'm not sure if I bought her in February or if I bought her in April, because I did buy a couple of Cattleya those 2 months, many of which I don't have left, by the way, because I was just getting into Cattleya, and I bought all seedlings, which is a big mistake when you're starting out, because seedlings do not take the same care as your big girls. They actually prefer to stay wet longer. You still don't want to keep their media wet, but you do want to water them more often. So she does have roots here, here, and right in here, but she's not much bigger than she was when I purchased her, and that's because a lot of the growths failed, or they got this rust look on them and kind of rotted off. So when I repotted her in January of 2021, so a year ago, this is what she's done in a year, she was still having this rust issue. So I just took the media that I had around the base of her and I just pushed it back or took it out. And she has grown a couple of new growths, but me with my sheaths, I was breaking them. So now that's one of the reasons I don't touch the sheaths anymore. But this new growth, if you can see it, does not show any signs yet of the rusting. By now, this tip right here, let's see, get it. I don't know if you can see it with that leaf in the way, but the tipping of the new growths would already start showing signs of the rust. So I'm wondering if I maybe just had the media too close at the time, or when I was watering, the water was splashing into the tiny leaf, causing that. And while we're talking about babies, this is the Dick Smith Paradise seedling that I got as a freebie from Jewel Orchids back in July, and I placed her in the charcoal mix. So she is still doing fine. She hasn't gone down any since putting her in. She does have an explosion of roots going down into the pot, as well as, let's see if we can get it in focus. I'm not sure, but she does have, looks like a little swelling going on right down there at the base. I'll have to keep an eye out. But what I do with this one, as well as all of my, especially my younger orchids, is when I water around. I try not to get any water in the base area just in case there is a new growth, trying to avoid the issue of what I was experiencing with my spring dance. Then we have the Sea Breeze Felrathus Pride crossed with Elsie Love Knot that I also got from Jewel Orchid. That is exploding with some nice roots down here. She has a new growth just starting right down there at the base, and the bulbs that had started desiccating when I repotted her are now starting to swell back up, and they'll always kind of have a wanky look to them just because even if they swell all the way back up, they'll have the ridging in there. The media that she is in is actually a moss and bark mixture because she had roots starting, but she didn't have a lot of roots to go into the pot. So that moss is to help encourage her to produce those roots. And since we're on Jewel Orchids, let's just talk about this one here. This is the Elsie Sun Circle, again from Jewel Orchids back in July. And I put her in this setup in October, so she's not been in here that long, but she's doing really well. And she did develop a sheath. Let's see if you can see it. She did develop a sheath in there. However, that sheath is dry, but she is producing a new growth as well as lovely new roots, and she is in all bark. Then another Jewel Orchid. Let's just talk about this one then. So this one here is, let's see, I've had her since July, and she's been in here since September. So her leaves are almost like plastic, like they feel fake almost. And the shine on the leaves kind of gives her that appearance of being a fake plant. I think that's one of the features that make her like kind of cool. But look at this growth. Look at it. Let's see, let me do this. Look how tall that is already. That is amazing. And it looks like she's finishing it off because that second leaf is starting to develop right there. And then she has happy sap on each one of the sections here. So that is just, I think that is just so cool looking. Just so cool looking. And I don't see any other new growths, but she does have new roots going down into the pot. And I expect that this growth is going to be a little smaller than the previous, just from the stress of being shipped and repotted and all that jazzy good stuff. Now she is near blooming size, so we have to wait and see. Or is she blooming size? I bought a couple from them that were near blooming size and some that were blooming size. So this year I think I'm going to start adding that to the tags just so that I know whether to expect a bloom or to know that I have to wait for a while. I don't know. What do you guys do? And here is one that I've had since 2019. This is the BLC Willamette Wong, the best, crossed with BLC Onse Mendenhall, that is doing okay, but not too well. So hold on just one second. They're in my right pocket of my my jacket. Sorry about that. My daughter's looking for my keys. But anyway, so this one here has put on quite a bit of growth since 2019, much of which I have broken off trying to clean sheaths. Again, learn your lesson. Took me a while, but I finally learned it. So this one here grew this large growth here, and I was thinking and hoping and praying that it was a spike, and it ended up being a root in my to-go jacket, my outside jacket. The pocket showing out right there. She thought it was in my work jacket. Anyway, so all these growths that you see back here are ones that she's grown off of here, And then she's working on these two right here. And again, if you look, the sheaths, if you can see them, I've left the sheaths alone. I am just, it takes everything I have, guys, not to take those sheaths off. It really, really does, especially when they get kind of that black, yucky look. But I don't want to lose any more new growths. And that is what has happened with her, is I have definitely lost a lot of growths from messing with her. Let's talk about Sonua here. So this is a Sophronites Sonua, which Sophronites is now Cattleya, so that's why she's in this mix of mix. I did show her recently, but I just want to show her off again. Look at that new growth. Can you see how big it is? I'm very proud of this. I've had this one since, well, as you can see, September of 2020. And then in February of 2021, I took her off the mount that she came with, and I put her in the same pot, but it was all moss with bark on top, and she just didn't do anything at all. So in August of 2021, so let's see, about 6 months after I put her in here, because she was actually kind of declining, the roots were kind of dying off. She had one root that was healthy. So when I put her in here, she does have moss on the top layer, but it's not inside. It's just kind of right here. You can kind of see it right in this area there to help encourage root growth. And she is branching a little root there, but she does have some more roots right back here going down in the pot. And then she has this one aerial root. But seeing as she hasn't done anything for me in a year and a half, and now she's going to give me this new growth, I would call that a success, absolute success. And we did not talk about Dewy Forest, did we? Did we talk about Dewy Forest? I don't remember. You know what? We're going to talk about her again if we did. Again, Dewy Forest has those really hard plastic-like leaves. I've had her since April of 2020. Got her as a seedling, so obviously she's not going to bloom. But look at the growth. So each growth is getting larger with each growth. Each growth is getting larger with each growth. I really need to stop and think before I talk sometimes. She has lost quite a few growths since I got her, but since putting her in this pot, she has shot up 2 directions of growth, as well as, if you look right in the center between, well, I guess if I move that tag, you might be able to see. If you look in the center there, you can barely see it, but there's another eye that looks like it's going to try to start swelling for me. But she's got lots of roots in this pot. She is shooting out new growth. So I'm rather pleased with her. By the time I got her, though, I had already killed, I'm not going to tell you how many, but I had already killed quite a few seedlings. And just as a heads up for those of you who are just getting into orchids outside of Phalaenopsis, don't purchase seedlings, because one, they do require a little bit different care than your bigger plants. They want to have a little bit more watering, whereas with a Cattleya, if you forget to water it for a week or two, yeah, it's going to start drying up, but it's still going to make it. Whereas with your seedlings, they prefer to have more frequent watering. Something I learned. And then we have the Nodosa crossed with Small World, that her leaves, I could kill somebody with the point of this leaf. It is so firm, so very firm. And nope, I thought I saw another new growth. So we just have this new growth right here. And then she has this one right here that she is working on. And I did see another growth. Is that another growth? Hold on, guys. Oh, yep, we do have, let me move this out of the way. So we do have another direction of growth coming right there. You can barely see it next to that other new growth. But this is the one that I just cut the spike off, and I just cut the spike off of this one. So far from just looking at the plant, the last 4 growths have bloomed. So she probably won't bloom off of these growths, 2 growths that she's growing now, simply because of the repot and trying to get settled into my environment. But that one that is just barely started, maybe it'll bloom for me. Now let's talk about our pink dolls. Move you out the way. So when I bought this girl, she's got the most beautiful big pink flowers. And if I can get into my editing system, I will post pictures of the ones that I have. But right now, my laptop and YouTube, everybody's just having issues talking to each other. And I get very frustrated. So I've just been loading videos from my phone. So if I can't figure out how to post the pictures doing that, I do apologize, but if I can get into my editing system and actually put the pictures up for you guys, I'll show you the blooms of the ones that I do have. So this is 2 pieces. This is a separate piece, and then we have this piece. So when I initially got her, obviously they were all in one big pot, and they all looked nice and full. So I was waiting for new growth or new roots. I saw new roots coming, and as you do, she's a unifoliate Cattleya, but she also has some bifoliate leaves. So I treated her as a bifoliate and waited for those roots to come. Well, when I took her out, obviously she wasn't one plant, because now we have basically 4 plants here. So this one here, and I did just show you guys, but she does have 2 directions of growth coming on this one, and then this one is starting some root growth, and then this one here, you can kind of see that root right there is already coming in. And I was worried about this one here, even though this is technically the newest section, because this is the one that the bloom came off of, and I was confident on this one. But this root has really grown since the last time I showed her. And then we have this piece here, which those roots are really coming right along. Let's see if you can see those. They're coming right along, and all I do is I mist the top of the bark every day until those roots go down, and then I only water her probably every 7 to 10 days, because there's not a lot of stuff going on in the pot. So I just mist the top to encourage those roots. Do the same thing with the the 2 big ones back here. And this piece here that I just stuck in here and was like, well, if something happens, something happens. She's just really taken off. So this is the root that I showed a couple of days ago. This little one, look how much it's swollen already. She has another eye for a root coming out here. This one is really growing, as are these 2. And then that new growth that I was hoping would swell is starting to swell more. So I think this piece is going to be a keeper. Initially, I thought I was going to have to throw her away, but I think she's a keeper. So I might, since I don't have a Cattleya in LECA, but I have these 2 in their pots, I might try a Cattleya in a LECA setup. Let me know what you think down below if that's something that you think would be interesting. And that is all of the little girls. And like I said, I wasn't sure how many Cattleya types that I had, but I did do a count before I started this video, and I have 24. That's a lot of Cattleyas for someone who thought they only had 12 to 15, but I don't care. Cattleya are my second favorite orchid type, where Phalaenopsis are still my #1, even though 90% of the Cattleya, but 90% of the Phalaenopsis that I have are no IDs. They're still my favorite. They are still my favorite. I don't care if they're called the peasant orchid. I'm a peasant. Give them to me. All right, well, guys, I appreciate you coming over again. Thank you so much for staying to the end. Go ahead and give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Leave some comments down below on any suggestions you might have. Let me know if you agree with me on the seedlings as far as needing to be watered more. And with that, you have a wonderful, wonderful day.